Welcome to today's Muskogee City Council meeting on January the 28th. The invocation this evening will be by Councilmember Jamie Stout, and then following will be the flag salute.
Please bow. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for the many blessings that you give to us, dear Lord. Forgive us of our sins, dear Lord. Just be with us this evening as we conduct business for our city, and may it bring glory to you, dear Lord. We just pray for our city, our state, and our nation, dear Lord, during this time. And we just ask you to bless the ones that are sick and just heal them, dear Lord. And we ask this all in your name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Join us for the flag salute. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Bob Coburn.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Here.
Dan Hall.
Here.
Marlon Coleman. Jamie Stout.
Here.
Wayne Johnson.
Here.
Patrick Cale.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Derek Reed.
Here.
We're accounted for with the exception of Councilman Coleman. Do I hear motion regarding that?
I'll make a motion to excuse Councilman Coleman for this evening.
Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Cale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. We'll now look at our minutes from the special call meeting January 7th and from the regular session meeting on January the 14th. Are there additions or corrections to those?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
With a motion and a second, any comment or discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Cale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. Motion carries. Consent agenda, items 1 through 9. Mr. Miller, we had one to possibly take. No, we don't. So consent agenda will be items 1 through 9. Is there anything anyone would like to move to regular agenda?
Make a motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there comment or discussion regarding the consent agenda? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Cale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. Motion carries. Regular agenda item number 10.
Hold a public hearing and consider approval of Ordinance 4063A, amending Chapter 90, Zoning, Article 16, Signs, Section 90-16-07, Commercial and Industrial District Sign Regulations by amending Section 90-1607G, Digital Standards for Signs, providing for repealer, severability, and codification, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Garvin, we will now consider ourselves in a public meeting.
Mayor, members of the council, if you will remember, back in 2016, we amended the sign regulations. We amended it by adding a section to regulate the LED or digital signs. At that time, there was very few cities in Oklahoma that regulated LED signs. So we knew when we put the ordinance together, we may have to come back and revise it. 2 years have passed. We've looked at other cities who have adopted the LED signs regulations. We found two sections we want to recommend changing in our current regulations. One is we want to decrease the maximum brightness level to 40-foot candles between sunset and sunrise. Secondly, we want to use 8 feet as a distance to measure the brightness. That'll be 8 feet from the base of the sign. Previously, we had to determine the area of the sign and then work a formula that determined the distance away from the sign to measure the brightness. Plus, it had to be perpendicular with the sign. So this will make it much easier to enforce and regulate. We did meet with the local sign contractors. We had one sign contractor take us to his facility, take us inside, turn the lights off, do the different measurements to see if this 40-foot candles was appropriate brightness level. And it was, or we feel like it is. The sign contractors we talked to had no objections. This has been recommended for approval by staff, Planning Commission, and Public Works. Glad to answer any questions.
Okay, nobody had signed up to speak to this item. We'll close the public hearing. Does staff have a question or comment for Mr. Garvin?
Mr. Garvin, does it make a difference on how high the sign is from the ground sometimes? Like if it's like 4 foot or right on the ground?
It can make some difference, yes, as far as how far it extends the light out. But the brightness should, by setting this at 40, it should help that, no matter how high the sign is, it should help with that issue.
Okay.
But we talked about looking at it and maybe limiting some of the height of the signs, but typically 30 foot is the maximum height in commercial.
Okay. I was worried about that because I noticed the other night I was driving by a little sign. I won't say which one it was. And I noticed that the ones that are higher didn't put off, I mean, they're bright, but the ones that are eye level and lower were a little bit more distracting. So I was just kind of curious.
Of course, the size will make a difference, but then again, the 40-foot candle watts at 8 foot, so even if it's a bigger sign putting off more, it's still got to be 40. So it shouldn't be as bright as some of the smaller signs.
Okay. And when will this take effect?
Once it's approved, the ordinance will be published, and then it's 30 days after publication.
Okay. All righty. Thank you.
Other questions or comments?
Make a motion to approve.
A
A
second?
motion and a second. Any comments further? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston?
Yes.
Patrick Kale?
Yes.
Wayne Johnson?
Yes.
Ivory Van?
Yes.
Derek Reed?
Yes.
Dan Hall?
Yes.
Jamie Stout?
Yes.
Mayor Coburn?
Yes, motion carries. Item number 11.
Consider approval of ordinance number 4064A, amending the Muskogee Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 6, Boards and Commissions, Division 15, Muskogee Wellness Initiative, Sections 2-532, Appointment and Membership, and 2-536, Ex officio members, revising membership, providing for repealer severability, and declaring an emergency, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Tucker.
Mayor, members of council, as you will remember, this item was discussed in committee. The major change that is proposed would effectively change the director of the Muskogee County Health Department or his or her designee from an ex officio non-voting member to a voting member. This was unanimously recommended for approval by the Muskogee Wellness Initiative, and I'm happy to answer any questions, but I would recommend approval.
Move for approval?
Got a motion? Motion and a second. Any comments? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston?
Yes.
Patrick Kale?
Yes.
Wayne Johnson?
Yes.
Ivory Van?
Yes.
Derek Reed?
Yes.
Dan Hall?
Yes.
Jamie Stout?
Yes.
Mayor Coburn?
Yes, motion carries. Item number 12.
We have the emergency.
Oh, my apologies.
Make a motion that we declare an emergency.
Second.
Got a motion and a second regarding the emergency. Any comments? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston?
Yes.
Patrick Kale?
Yes.
Wayne Johnson?
Yes.
Ivory Van?
Yes.
Derek Reed?
Yes.
Dan Hall?
Yes.
Jamie Stout?
Yes.
Mayor Coburn?
Yes, motion carries. Item number 12.
Consider approval of a professional services agreement with Michael S. Bates, Labor Relations Consulting Services of Tulsa, Oklahoma, to provide labor relations services to the city of Muskogee covering the time frame of fiscal year 2019-2020, as well as related employee labor relations work as determined by the city, and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement or take other necessary action.
Mrs. Plunkett.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is the annual professional services agreement for Michael Bates to provide labor relations services for negotiations for the IAFF and FOP and any arbitration that we may need. The cost for 2018-19 negotiations was about $5,900. It has decreased over the last couple years due to me chairing AFSCME and less time it takes to negotiate those contracts. In addition, there are no contract changes this year as well for Mr. Bates. Everything is the same as it was last year. Happy to answer any questions, and I recommend approval.
All right. He gets $95 an hour, correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Roy. No, and Kelly. Did have one question I did remember. We pay him mileage, or is this $47.50 what he gets for driving here an hour?
It's mileage. He gets mileage and time.
Wow. Okay. I want to drive like that. And he works the 75-hour thing. Can you explain that a little bit more to me about the 75 hours that he works when he negotiates?
In regards to the annual hours that it would cost per union or total for the union groups for IAFF and for AFSCME. So we would not anticipate it go over 75 hours total. And again, the cost for this last year was $58.96, so $5,900. So we're well below that.
Has it ever went over 75 hours?
Not to my knowledge, no, sir.
Okay.
I do have the previous year's costs in your packet. The highest cost was 2015-16, when it was a total of $26,000.
Do you foresee us ever doing this in-house on our own, or do you think we'll always need to have a representative from somewhere?
I would anticipate at some point that we could do this in-house on our own. That's up to the manager to decide at this time.
I kind of would like to see us start moving that way and have us negotiate our own stuff. So even though it's not very much money, it would still save us some money. So I'd like to see that.
Understood.
Other questions or comments?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
You got a motion and a second. Any additional thoughts? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Jenny Boydston,
Yes.
Patrick Kale,
Yes.
Wayne Johnson,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Derek Reed,
No.
Dan Hall,
No.
Jamie Stout,
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Item number 13.
Consider approval of an agreement for additional construction services with Garver Incorporated, ratifying additional construction services associated with the Muskogee Davis Regional Airport Runway 4-22 Rehabilitation Project, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Garvin.
Mayor, members of the council, this agreement was requested by FAA for a contract extension between Garver Engineering and the City of Muskogee. It's for construction services related to runway 422. If you remember, the construction contractor went over the contract time, I believe it was 106 days, calendar days. That resulted in additional construction services totaling $90,791.36. This agreement will allow the city to be reimbursed 90% through the FAA Airport Improvement Plan grant. The project's been complete, the engineer's been paid. For us to get reimbursed, we need to go back and do this contract. Do recommend approval and be glad to answer any questions.
Question or comments?
Move for approval.
A motion?
Second?
Motion and a second. Any questions or comments for roll call?
Deputy Mayor Jenny Boydston,
Yes.
Patrick Kale,
Yes.
Wayne Johnson,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Derek Reed,
Yes.
Dan Hall,
Yes.
Jamie Stout,
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item 14.
Receive presentation of the year-to-date progress on the implementation of the City of Muskogee Safety Plan and provide necessary direction to staff.
Mr. Tucker.
Mayor, members of the council, I think at this time I'll turn the floor over to our safety manager, Dakota Jones.
Thank you. Mayors, members of council, can you guys hear me okay?
Sure can. Thank you.
So today I'm going to review our safety management efforts for 2018, and these will include our injury statistics, our departmental performance, and I'll split those up by department, workers' compensation costs, motor vehicle accident statistics, and then of course some objectives for the next year. So right here you can see the training that we've completed this year. That's a mixture of me doing training, our VOTEC doing training, and outside trainings from LTAP OSU. So hand protection is the first one there. I won't go through every single one of these, but I'll touch on a few. That was in response to a couple of hand injuries that we experienced, and after doing the training and going over the PPE required, we have not experienced any since then. LTAP backhoe excavator operator training was a training that I attended with David Springer and Bill Kimmer, two of our operators. And we went to that training and learned how to safely operate excavators, backhoes. I learned how to operate them, and it was a blast. Since then, we've actually lowered our accident rate in motor vehicle accidents, and I'll go over that later as well. Respirator fit testing and training, of course, has to be done if you wear a respirator at all, so that was done. A few others would be active shooter training. PD did a great job on that, so thanks to them again. Heat stress, of course, we try to do every year to avoid those heat exhaustion accidents. And then, of course, first aid, CPR, and AED for anyone that required it. We also, the safety committee, put together some things like the workplace safety luncheon, which we've done 2 times now and had awesome response. We just like to appreciate our employees for putting their work into safety. So what we do is we provide them a free lunch, give out some prizes, and just have a good time. The emergency action plan, while it's still in the works, it is complete for City Hall and PD. We do have some documentation that needs to be finished on that, but it will be out soon. The main members of that emergency action plan are aware of it and what their responsibilities are at this point. The committee members do include employees and supervisors. What I don't want is just department heads in there, no offense to anybody, but they're not out there on the the ground every single day like our employees and supervisors are, so that's who we try to have in the committee. Then they determine training needed. And the way they do that is they look at injuries that we have had that past month and decide, is there something going on that we need to change, a process, PPE, what have you from those injuries. Something new that will start this year is the injury review form, because I don't think the communication is quite there from the safety committee to those departments. And I'm hoping this will change that. And what we'll do is we'll look at the injury like we normally do, and then we'll ask a series of questions on causes and prevention. What you don't want to do is blame the employee. That's just not how we roll. We want to find the root cause of it, whether, like I said, it's PPE or a process. The committee will address those causes and suggest preventive measures, whether it be training or other devices. That form will be sent to the department head for review and a response. That way it is looked at by that department head, and they can decide, do we need training in this area or not? And then if there's serious incidents, of course, you don't want to wait till the next safety committee meeting. You want to look at it right away. So we may have to call special meetings for those. Now these pictures, this one, of course, it looks like a mess, but what I'm showing you here is our pollution department is caring more and more about safety. They dug this hole to fix a sewer line and realized that they couldn't slope it out to avoid a cave-in. So they called me and they said, we would like to order a trench box. How do we do that? So we ordered it, stuck it in the hole right there, and while it doesn't look very safe, that's a lot safer than a hole caving in on you. And it was there for about a day, and the mud on the right side, if you can see, actually caved in and collided with that box. If our employees were in there, you never know what could have happened. So shout out to those guys. Now this one here is the backhoe and excavator training that LTAP and OSU put on. I'm hoping they do this again. I'd like to send more people. But we had a really good time and learned a lot. That's me operating on the right. No, I didn't break anything. Left side there is David Springer operating. And this right here is Clarence McBride. I just have this picture because he had every bit of PPE on that would be required for this job, doing jackhammering. He had safety glasses, earplugs, gloves, steel-toed boots, all of it. So it was just a good example to walk up on and explain to his coworkers why they should be doing the same. Right here is the safety lunch that we did. On the left side, you'll see some of our committee members who worked super hard that day, sweated it out, cooking hot dogs in the 100-degree heat for our employees. And, of course, on the right, you can see them enjoying it. Now, on to the results. Our incident rate actually went down this last year from a 11.6 to a 10.1. Now, the calculation for this is a little bit confusing, so if you have any questions, feel free to stop me. But the way this is calculated is you take your 44 recordable injuries, you multiply that by 200,000. That's supposed to equal 100 employees working 2,000 hours in a year. Then you divide it by how many hours we worked, which is 867,998, and that's how you get your 10.1. So effectively, 10.1 out of 100 employees had a recordable injury. That's not good, right? But it's better than having an 11.6. So we are coming down. Now, the state average in 2017 was 8.2. So we're getting closer and closer to that every year. If we knock that down to 34 injuries, it would actually be at that state average. So we've got a ways to go. Now, you can see from 2015 to now, we've come down from 51 recordable injuries to 44. So it is looking better, and every year you can see there that it went down by a couple. Okay, on the right side, 1% decrease in recordable injuries, 1.5% lower incident rate. We did come up in lost time injuries by 25%, and I'll explain why here in the next slides. This first slide here shows 2016, 17, and 18, and each department has its recordable injuries noted. So you'll see there, sanitation, they had 10, they had 12, and in 18, they actually had 6. They went down 50%. So that was an awesome experience there. Now, parks went from 6 to 8 to 6. They're kind of balancing out there. Attorney's office, we actually had 2 in 2017, but we had 0 in 18. So environmental went from 1 to 3 to 2. Pollution went from 2 to 1 to 0. And you can see there that it kind of follows that trend. Now, these are the departments that didn't do so well. Fleet went from 1 in 16 to 4 in 18. Facilities had 2 in 16 and 2 in 18. Fire went from 8 last year to 10. Water distribution went from 1 to 3. And police actually went from 5 to 8. Now, the difficulty with fire and police is their jobs direct them toward danger. You kind of can't tell a guy, don't go in the house, it's on fire. That's their job. Just like police, if there's a fight, they have to stop and help, right? So it's really a difficult thing to do, but I'll talk here in a bit about what we'll try to do about that this year. So now the fun part, this is what it costs us every year on the left side for workers' comp injuries that are experienced that year. So it's gone from $269 to $531, $495, $237, $245. You can see that decline happening in the last few years. We're hoping we stick with that and go down lower each year. But on the right side, you can see what we pay every year that includes old claims. So there were some that were from 2003 that we paid on last year. So it's really a difficult thing to calculate and to change. But you can see there that we went from $1 million in 2015 to $685 to $936 to $660. So it is starting to decline as well. And you can see in 2017, we paid off a bunch of claims. So hopefully over the next few years, if we don't experience more large claims, that'll keep going down. And then it's just in graph format there, just to kind of give you an idea of where those numbers are going. Motor vehicle accidents, 2017 we had 73, 2018 47. So 35% decline. We'll take wins where we get them. MERB is our accident review board. They review every single one of these accidents, and then they recommend action to the department. And that's what I'm using for our safety committee, is something similar to that. Intensive driving course we had, I believe, helped a lot of people understand how to drive safer. Our CDL pre-trip forms, safety and fleet work together on that to make sure that we do those pre-trips. One way to prevent accidents is to make sure your car's in good shape, right? Your dump trucks and heavy equipment. The vehicle tracking system is also something that Fleet is working on to improve our safety, and what it does is create accountability. Everybody has a tracker on their car if they speed, if they brake too hard, if they're in the wrong location, that can all be tracked with that. I think I accidentally skipped. And then the vehicle use and abuse policy as well. Another thing that created accountability, make sure we take care of our vehicles. So our objectives for the year would be to investigate deeper into injuries. And one thing that's tough about that is when you have almost one a week. But I believe we can do it. And OSHA does suggest that you investigate every single injury, even if it's something small. We also want to do more focused safety training. So instead of just what's required, I want to look at those injuries every month and then decide new trainings, and for police and fire, add online training to their repertoire as well. They do some already, but this actually has a lot of safety training that they can do, and it's provided for free by OMAG, and that's worth its weight in gold. Those training programs are tens of thousands of dollars from anywhere else. Worksite inspections I'd like to improve as well. Go to those, investigate everything on site, and then get that to the department so they know what to address. And of course, the communication from Safety Committee to the department, which I believe the injury review form will help with. No action necessary, but I'm open to any questions.
I've got a couple of questions and a point to make. I can't tell you, in my opinion, how very, very important it is. The first week in June, it seems, you've got a 2-week window where guys, whether it's sanitation, whether it's park workers, street department fellas, everybody outside doing a little bit of work in the sun, how your body all of a sudden is slammed. You don't have to drink as much water throughout the spring and everything, and then all of a sudden you hit a sunny day and it's kind of warm, and that second week in June, and boom, you get heat stroke.
Every year.
Every year. I would like us to, and I'm sure we are, I just want to pat you on the back and encourage you, memos, folders, handouts, packages of Gatorade you can mix with water, what have you. But if we'll hit that first 2-3 weeks, and then the body magically acclimates, and then all of a sudden you're okay. But I can't tell you how important it is to me that we avoid heat stroke at all costs. And for those in the audience and some of us up here, our assistant city manager for one, I for one, that can have lifelong effects. afterwards, you just can't recover fully off of that. So
That happens at home too, even just mowing the yard.
it darn
You
sure
don't think
does. It
about
happens
yeah,
to everybody.
for sure.
Us people at home on the yard don't think about it so much. Us folks that have been managing guys in the field for 10 years or longer, every year you just know it. So if we'll get real aggressive and get the message out, and guys, drink your darn water, drink your water, get some Gatorade packets, salt, whatever you need to make it, I'd be real appreciative, and I think it's just being aware, because that time of year happens to me, and it's just, yesterday was yesterday, the month before was the month before. But if I'm reminded, Patrick, drink some water, I'll do it. I just need to be reminded.
Well, the good thing is we have been doing that for a few years, and it's been working.
Good.
And I think the main thing is the education. It's just letting them know you do have to take in more water. You have to take more frequent breaks. You can take them shorter, of course, maybe every 5 minutes to an hour versus 10 minutes to 2 hours. But you have to have those more frequent breaks too.
And more important than letting them know and educating them is after the first year, they know better. I know better. You know better. But you're just not paying attention to the time of the year and the changes, because you've been in work mode all spring, all winter, and you're in work mode. So if we'll just do a good job of reminding everybody, this time of year, boy, that's so very helpful.
I agree.
Another question I have, you made a point about the police and the fire being in harm's way, which is spot on. I'm cynically sitting up here going, were those injuries due to stopping fist fights and running into homes, or were they due to something else?
Most of the fire were actually in-house fires, and I could give you a couple examples. Guy using a pike pole, pulling down part of a ceiling, fell on top of him or hurt his shoulder. One guy fell through the floor because it broke through. One time a ceiling fell on 2 guys. They can't exactly go in and see how sturdy it is first,
No,
right? So
it's crumbling
go in
around
and it
them.
falls on you, yeah. Yeah, not to make excuses, but
No
it's
excuses.
a totally different field than, say, like public works or parks.
So
for
what
sure.
I'm hearing from you is some of our fire-related injuries were due to being in conditions that you have no idea what kind of conditions you're in.
Right.
The next thing, to me, the easiest thing to fix are motor vehicle accidents. I mean, come on, everybody, just let's be careful. Well, I'd like to commend you on your efforts on our safety program. We've come a long way in 3 years, and I think we'll go even further. What I'd like to see, I'm seeing that our economic impact in injuries is coming down, which is wonderful, and I'd like to see that if we can't continue the program and get costs down, that we don't have a little bit of what I would call aggressive acknowledgement. Whether that's shirts or hats or programs or a day at the water park or something. But if we're truly saving people's lives and saving their health and saving the community money, I'd like to do what I call aggressive acknowledgement. We don't want to be stupid, but just to continue to let everybody know how committed we are to taking care of one another. Thank you.
We do have safety shirts and hats that we give out and lanyards and all of that stuff. So I feel like we're doing some of that, but we could always do better.
Yeah.
So
Dakota, what area do we have the most accidents in?
what year do we have the most?
No, not year, area.
Oh, what area?
Is there a specific accident that reoccurs in our city more than others?
I would say musculoskeletal disorders, which would just be sprains and strains. They're the hardest to determine if they're real injuries, and they're the hardest to determine if, how do you prevent those? Twisting your ankle, torquing your shoulder or your back. Those are the toughest ones to deal with.
What are the second most? What's the ones?
Second?
Yeah, the second ones.
That's a tough one. It might be falls.
Slip, trips, and falls.
Yeah. So learn how to walk and watch out for things. But to be serious, housekeeping is really important in your work area. If you're walking through and there's hoses or cords in the floor, you got a lot more hazards. So
Yeah, we have a guy at Muskogee Public Schools that's always on us about those things. I don't know what was his name, Wayne?
Yeah, I know.
I appreciate you, Dakota. Thanks for
Thank you guys.
Thank you very much for your report, and, it's something that, Bob and me had talked about, and really it's been a vision for Bob for quite some time. We knew the impact that it could make financially, but it takes a long time for those visions to become reality, and part of it was getting the right person in the right position with the right leadership, and really, I really appreciate, it being in the right department and getting the right person, and it's taken a while for that to take place, and thank you very much, and thank you, Roy, for the leadership in that department. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's working.
It's working. And it takes a while. You always want to just put funding in there and see the results immediately. It doesn't take place like that, but we're seeing it right now. And part of it, the position was, I think, in the wrong place, in the right place, but it's happening. And thank you very much, both of you very much.
I would echo Wayne's comments as well. Several years ago, we went to Enid. Enid went from worst in the state to best in the state in a pretty short period of time. And as we both remember from that trip, they did it with an effective leader, and you all are to be commended in that effort. Would you speak just a minute, too, and I would feel like probably you have already looked at this, but how do we compare in the state, other than just saying, here's the state average on the total? How do we compare in the state? Could you say, if you took the two cities, our closest in size, in population, plus and minus, on both sides of us, how do we compare in there to other cities similar size?
Unfortunately, I don't have the information on the similar city size. I only have the state average, which is an 8.2. But we're moving closer toward that every year. But I would have to look at the other cities to see what theirs are.
Whenever you get a chance, and that could be over the next month or something,
Sure.
I'd like to see something on that
Okay.
to see how we compare to other
And I
similar
also
cities.
don't know how public that information is, if they're willing to give me that, since it is their injury info, but I'll definitely try.
Enid was pretty proud of theirs. I'm sure
Right.
they would give it to you.
I'm sure they were.
They were extremely pleased. Great job. Are union groups participating in helping in, not just in at the table, but in terms of offering training and potential training dollars?
Are unions
Yes.
involved in that? I'm not sure.
Well, that would be something to look at.
Yeah.
I remember having a particular conversation with one person who said, we'll be first at the table and we'll be first in the training. And I haven't seen that happen.
We'll have to talk to them then.
Okay? Other comments or questions regarding safety? Congratulations. Great job.
Thanks again.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, may we recognize
You sure can.
Dakota? Can you come back up? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think you're doing a great job, because safety is very important, because I know when I worked at Georgia Pacific, that was one of the things, that we strived on, was safety out there. And you're right, Councilman McHale, when you have incentives, for safety, like caps, hats, stuff like that, coats. Well, coats, I hadn't seen coats, but I've been trying to get coats up here. I've talked to you about that. But
Yeah,
it really,
It's possible.
it really does help. We used to get slips, to go eat and different things like that. But one thing I found that disturbs me a little bit, like on these center mediums, during the summertime, like when they're cutting the grass, Shawnee, 69, Maine, it's no signs out says mowing grass. I mean, to me, it should be signs out saying
Right, there should be.
grass mowing is ahead. But I do a lot of driving around Muskogee, and I pay attention to things.
Okay.
That's one thing I don't see much of, and to me, that's a danger. Because there also would be a danger, also on Main Street, same thing. Like I think it's in the plan that's coming this year here, to keep the mediums edged, when it looks nice. On all, yeah, it looks nice like that. Right, Mr. Miller?
It's in the plan, yes,
In the
sir.
plan.
We've already started, so we're going to keep it up.
Well, like I said, that really makes the dresses up a little bit, and I think, signs like that and cones, where people's doing that, or how you're going to do it, that needs to be addressed.
Well, I think the traffic management plan should be in there too, and hopefully we follow that. So I'll definitely keep an eye out for those.
That's just something I've seen.
And I did happen to see some fellows out on Main Street doing this work, and they had cordoned off, and to me, it looked quite clear that they were doing work and trying to protect everybody the other day when I
It was
was
like
out.
10 days ago? Yeah, I saw the same thing.
And got better then. Because I was on my way to Wagner one day, and it's, oh, Doc, it really surprised me. They had their truck with the lights on, and these guys was crossing the highway on asphalt in the middle of the road. I'm serious. If I had time, I took a picture of it. I said, I can't believe these guys put
Were they
themselves
in
jeopardy.
high-vis stuff, at least? Like bright shirts and everything?
Yeah, but that when you're having a shovel where you're just going into the center of the highway and
Doesn't
car.
really do a whole lot for you.
But what, I mean, it surprised me. But I like to say,
Wow.
I commend you, Dakota, and thank you for all you do for the city of Muskogee. And I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Okay. Item number 15.
Consider approval of the recommended designation of an acting city manager in the temporary absence or disability of the city manager in accordance with City Charter 303, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller?
Yes, Mayor and members of council, as you see, it's part of the charter that I need to file this letter with the clerk and have you approve it. It's for basically who's in charge when I am unable to be acting as city manager. It's got Assistant City Manager Gary Garvin as the first alternate there, and then City Attorney Roy Tucker and City Clerk Tammy Tracy to follow in that order, with the other department heads as appointed should they be needed in the fourth category. Do recommend approval and be happy to answer any questions about that.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there a comment or question? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Jenny Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 16.
Discuss and take action to authorize submission of letters of intent to the City of Muskogee Foundation for fiscal year 1920 grant cycle for city projects as follows. Juvenile Adult Community Service Program, $100,000. Community Intervention Center, $173,000. Housing Rehab Neighborhood Revitalization, $300,000. Demolition Program, $200,000. Hatbox Multi-Purpose Livestock Show Arena Building, $2 million. Old Mogi Street Fire Station, $125,000. Mobile Stage, $90,000. Teen Center, $130,000.
Mr. Miller?
Yes, Mr. Mayor and members of council, these are the letters of intent that we intend to submit to the City of Muskogee Foundation with your approval. And so I want to go over those briefly with you to make sure that these are indeed the directions you want to head. We may, I do anticipate us having one more next week for discussion as well, but we'll go over these. At the risk of saying two nice things about City Attorney Roy Tucker in the same meeting, which we probably shouldn't do, I do want to say the first two on the list are the two programs that the City Attorney's Office runs very well, the Juvenile and Adult Community Service Program and the Community Intervention Center. These are both very valuable programs and are an example of how our city attorney goes above and beyond what other city attorneys would usually do. And these are ongoing grants that we've gotten in past years, and we hope to be able to move forward with those. We have a couple that are being put forward from our Planning and Community Development Department, Housing Rehab and Neighborhood Revitalization Program in the amount of $300,000. This is a program that the foundation funded for many years. This past year, they did not fund it. We're asking them to do so to rehabilitate homes for the external part of the homes for owner-occupied structures within the original town site. The demolition program, this is something the foundation's helped us out with before as well, will allow us to leverage our federal funds and our city funds to keep dilapidated structures torn down more quickly than we are currently without being able to use foundation funding and relying solely on federal funding. We do have 4 from the Parks Department. The one is for the operations of the Teen Center. That is kind of an ongoing one that we do hope to continue. One is for a self-contained mobile stage that would not be solely for Parks and Recreation, but they would have it and be able to use it all kinds of venues around town, make it available to other services. We do also have a proposed renovation for the West Oak Mogi Street Fire Station. Basically, it would take what we've done with the fire station by Spalding Park, that renovation that we did 10, maybe close to 15 years ago now, turn that building into a very usable and very attractive structure. The Westcote Mogi Fire Station is currently not in use. It was most recently used by Habitat for Humanity, but they are not using it currently. And so this would let us move some current programs and activities from the Kiwanis Senior Center, the Hatbox Dance Building, possibly to there, and maybe even allow us to expand program offerings there. We would have a city match and a request for $125,000 in that case. And at Hatbox, you guys may remember we had several years ago, or in the last few years, an analysis of what we would need, what our community would support. And at one point, we thought there may be a $30 to $50 million project out there to really build a world-class, agricultural and event center, multi-purpose center. As we looked at that, the price tag was really high. The operational ongoing price tag was really high, and our Parks Department and Mark Wilkson in particular came forward with an idea that said, I think we can do most of that for a whole lot less money. And so what we've seen over the last few years is the repurposing of those barns out at Hatbox, or the hangars into barns, into multi-purpose venues. The foundation's given us a grant to work on the box hangar, which we're in the process of design. And then we've talked about building a show arena, which would kind of be the last component out there, a multi-purpose event space. And so we've had a planning grant this year from the foundation to design that. What we've come back with is about a design that we would request about $2 million from the foundation to finish that project off. And I think we'll have most, or if not all, of what we were looking for in our original plan at a far, far decreased price tag. So I'm really excited about the idea. The city, and hopefully partnering with the county, will be providing a match as far as some of the infrastructure needs, parking lot, and paving. So those are the ones that we would like to request to move forward with. Thank you for your patience, as I was kind of windy there describing all those. But there's some very exciting things that we have going forward, an opportunity in our city, and we hope that you agree and approve us to submit letters of intent.
We have question or comment? We already have a motion.
I'd like to make one comment, and I'd like to commend the Parks Department for looking at workarounds and not having dreams shattered and slashed. They've worked real hard on coming up with concepts to grow and rehabilitate that area out there. And I'm real proud of the fact that one of our niches, our market niches for events, a good one, is ag. And this is wonderful for that community. It's wonderful for the community at large. And the way they've put thought into it and real thought into how to put these buildings together and do a few little modest tweaks, but still make it a really classy look and feel. I'm just so very proud of the work and the efforts that they've put in. I wanted to share that with everybody.
I agree.
Extremely visionary. Now, did we have a comment? Do we have a motion and a second?
Mr.
We
Mayor,
have a motion, I think maybe not a second.
may I be recognized?
You sure can.
I think all these ideas, these LOIs are good and going to the foundation, but I have 3 of them on here as my favorite. And I would like this foundation, everyone who's listening to me right now, to tell them my favorite. First of all, Roy's program, the community service, that helps Muskogee with so many things. And also helps the people in jail also get their problems straightened out. That's a very successful program. Also the housing rehabilitation program, we missed a year on that. That was $300,000 that helps people that can't afford to get their houses fixed up, that need them fixed up. To me, that's a very important program. And the next program that I think is very important is the demolition program. Tearing these old houses down and make Muskogee look better, make them look bright. You know, you go somewhere and you go out of town and you see how other cities are clean and nice, and you come here and sometimes, like I say, I may be bad for saying this, but sometimes it looks just like, makes me just feel like it's a trash dump. you know. But it don't have to, Muskogee don't have to look like this. So these 3 programs here, I can say, all with the rest of them, they're very good programs. But these are my 3 best that I would love to see continuing on this LOI to the foundation. So I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, that's a perfect segue to say that we have a cleanup coming up the end of March, and so to clean up our neighborhood, we may not miss that opportunity.
Okay.
Councilor Van,
And
thank
I
you
can't,
for your comment.
just to bookend what he's saying, our community's looking better and better, and these programs that you just mentioned are a wonderful aspect of that. But we're moving in the right direction on several fronts. I'm real proud of our city.
Well, and, you know, with all these things that we've got on this agenda item here, they're coming in just right over $3 million, and that's not too much to ask from our foundation. So I'm really hoping that they come across with this and they're all excited about doing this stuff for our city, because sometimes they have a no vote over there and they use it, and it'd be kind of disappointing if they vote no on this. I'd really be excited if they'll go ahead and push that through and get that done for us. I just wanted to say that.
Well, at the same time, I recognize several other people are asking for money, and they're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
They got a tough job at City Muskogee Foundation, but thank goodness that they're our partners in this whole process, and we work very, very well together. Other comments? Do we have a motion and a second?
I don't have a
Yeah,
second.
we don't technically have a second
Second.
at this point. Now we do. Any other comment or discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston,
Yes.
Patrick Kale,
Yes.
Wayne Johnson,
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. We did not have anyone sign up to speak, but let us recognize FCCLA from Alice Robertson, and they are here learning about, I guess, kind of government procedure, parliamentary procedure, and so hopefully we haven't gone too far off of what your book text would tell you parliamentary procedure is. But the advantage is that we have a city attorney that sits here, it keeps us on the line when we get off base. Item number 17, A, B, and C.
Consider an executive session to discuss and take possible action on the following. A, pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss negotiations with the Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge Number 95, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session. B, pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss negotiations with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Local Number 2465, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session. C, pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss negotiations with the International Association of Firefighters, Local Number 57, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session.
Entertain a motion for executive session.
Make a motion, we go into executive section.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there comment or discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston,
Yes.
Patrick Kale,
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. FCCLA, thank you for being here. Thank you, sir. We'll now reconvene from executive session. Roll call, please.
Mayor Bob Coburn.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Here.
Dan Hall.
Here.
Marlon Coleman. Jamie Stout.
Here.
Wayne Johnson.
Here.
Patrick Kale.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Derek Reed.
Here.
Item 17, A, B, and C. Mr. Tucker.
Thank you. Item 17A, pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, the City Council did convene an executive session to discuss an item of negotiation with the Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge Number 95. I believed after that discussion, an appropriate motion would be to approve an MOU between the city and the Fraternal Order of Police for a one-time stipend of $300.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any comment or discussion? Roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Derek Reed.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries.
Item 17B, pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, the council did convene an executive session to discuss an item of negotiations with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Local Number 2465. Pending that discussion, I believe an appropriate motion would be to approve an MOU between the City of Muskogee and AFSCME for a one-time stipend of $300.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any comment or discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston,
Yes.
Patrick Kale,
Yes.
Wayne Johnson,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Derek Reed,
Yes.
Dan Hall,
Yes.
Jamie Stout,
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. Item C.
This will be two separate motions. Pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, the council did convene an executive session to discuss two items of negotiation with the International Association of Firefighters, Local Number 57. After having that discussion, I believe we need two motions. The first of which would be to approve an MOU between the city and the International Association of Firefighters, Local Number 57, regarding the position of house captain and assignments to Station 1, pending an approval vote by the IAFF.
Move for approval?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any comment or discussion? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston,
Yes.
Patrick Kale,
Yes.
Wayne Johnson,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Derek Reed,
Yes.
Dan Hall,
Yes.
Jamie Stout,
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries.
And Mayor, the second motion would be to approve an MOU for a one-time stipend of $300, also pending approval vote from the IAFF.
Move for approval?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any comments? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Janie Boydston,
Yes.
Patrick Kale,
Yes.
Wayne Johnson,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Derek Reed,
Yes.
Dan Hall,
Yes.
Jamie Stout,
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries, and that completes our agenda. Thank you for participating in our meeting.